Hey guys, it's Jez here from Xbox 2 podcast. I am at Gamescom right now and I've been checking out Towerborn and I just kind of wanted to get some thoughts down about the game real quickly, kind of rough, instant thoughts, because I played the game this morning with Stoic and for those who don't know, Towerborn is kind of like, it's an Xbox publishing game. It's coming exclusively to Xbox. Nobody's really sure when it's coming out, I think. I think me and Rand talked about expecting it early next year or something like that. I think it could possibly be further out the year, based on what I experienced. It is a little rough around the edges potentially, but I was absolutely fucking blown away by the gameplay loop, which is absolutely rock solid. So in Towerborn, you kind of play as a sort of, a warrior who exists in this belfry. As we know, it used to be called Project Belfry, and then its working title was The Wandering Tower, and now it's called Towerborn. And the Belfry is like one of the last safe places in the realm, which has kind of been hit by some kind of cataclysm. I'm not giving away too much about the story at the minute, but the tone is very hopeful, and the artwork is gorgeous. It's kind of like hand-painted backgrounds with this sort of layered parallax effect that you'll recognize from games like Ori and the Will of the Wisps and stuff like that. Hand painted, it looks absolutely gorgeous. The game, like when you're in there and you're fighting, it's really gorgeous. The enemies are 3D though. They're not 2D or anything like that. They're fully 3D, cel shaded art. Looks really, really gorgeous too. So like the artwork's really on point. But what really blew me away about Towerborn, honestly, was the combat. So this is a side scroller, but it is on a 3D kind of plane. So it's side scrolling, but you move up and down the area kind of similarly to Streets of Rage in a sense. So like you guide your character up and down on this sort of side scrolling plane, and full player co-op with split screen, local co-op or online co-op. And one of the points they really wanted to ram home was that there are ex-Killer Instinct developers on the team. And that has really informed them with regards to the netcode and also the way they've handled combat. So the combat is really tactile. It's really sort of physical based. Like your weapon swings have to connect with the enemy and that kind of thing. It's hard to explain really. But it's got this really tactile, weighty feel to it. My dude, I was playing with a sort of, I can't remember what the weapon was called, but it was sort of like a staff with like a gun on the end of it. So like at the end of the combo, you do like this little blunderbuss kind of shotgun blast at the end, which is really, really cool. And as you're doing attacks, you charge up special meter, which then you can do more powerful attacks, or you can activate elemental effects. Like at the end of getting my special meter up, I was able to activate this sort of fire buff on my boomstick kind of thing, and then set enemies on fire and stuff like that. But it was just the way it felt. Like it was so physical, and there's dodge rolling and with iframes and stuff like that. And it was a surprisingly tough game. Like at the end of our little demo section, we fought this sort of giant sort of what was it called now? I think it was called Truffle Punch or something like that. It's basically a giant evil mushroom with clubs for fists, and it was sort of slamming the ground, causing spikes to fly everywhere and stuff like that. And it was really tough. It was really quite tough. And they talks about how they're still tuning the difficulty and stuff like that. But I felt like the difficulty was in like a really good place. It wasn't like crazy punishing, but it was also like, man, you really have to sort of watch your footing and and learn the enemy patterns and stuff like that. And it really did kind of, it smacked of Castle Crashers, like honestly. And I think a lot of people will struggle to avoid making the comparison to Castle Crashers, because obviously Castle Crashers was for a long time an Xbox exclusive, and it was kind of like bringing that Streets of Rage DNA into the modern era Streets of Rage kind of gameplay style. And it's sort of like, it takes what that did and it's taken it even further. And like the way the combos were, and the way the dodge rolling was, and the way the enemies worked, and the tactile feel of the game. And apparently one of the developers who working on the combat also worked on Killer Instinct as well. So it's not just the netcodes from Killer Instinct, but also like some of the combat DNA and that sort of combo heavy sensibility from Killer Instinct. That also plays a big role in the game too. So I was really blown away by how great the combat felt. And I was just instantly imagining, like, because I know me and my brother, we played like hundreds of hours of Monster Hunter. And that's what this really reminded me of. Like the way the combos work and the really physical, weighty feel of the weapons really reminded me of, like, what if Monster Hunter was a side-scroller, you know? And it was just like, yes, this really works. This formula is a great idea. And so, like, you start off in the Belfry and you work your way sort of on these tiles to sort of gradually expand and decorrupt the land around the Belfry, rescuing refugees along the way, cleansing villages and stuff like that, I think. And eventually you'll open up different biomes as the fog of war clears. And they were talking about how, like, they've got plans for this to be a live service game, and they've got plans for narrative DLC and seasons and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, this is just awesome game. And now it's probably one of my most anticipated games after going hands-on with it. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know some quick thoughts on it and get some thoughts down while they were still fresh in my mind. Really awesome game. Do not sleep on Towerborn, and stay tuned for more Gamescom snippets. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time.